Good morning, everyone. So that's probably a horrible noise to kickstart the week. How are we doing? Sam here, United People's TV, here to kickstart another week after another game where just the rollercoaster football hasn't finished. United basically giving you a heart attack with every game hasn't finished. United winning games, not quite there yet. United, well, I don't know where we are in the league. I really don't even want to know. Or look at the table, but I might in this video. We're going to run through the game of the weekend. Of course we are. Ruben Amorim's post-match comments, Bruno Fernandes' post-match comments. Pretty stark, pretty honest. Let's be totally honest. You can't hide from the truth. Imagine you had Amorim trying to paint over or sort of paper over the cracks right now. He would be getting lynched. We're also going to speak about our players who are out on loan. We're going to speak about the game against Ipswich on Wednesday. The good thing is we've got another game coming up quickly. Will we win it, though? Nah, I don't know. And as always, I'm going to answer as many of your questions as I can throughout the show. It's tough being a United fan. It really is, which I suppose, we enjoyed ourselves in the 90s and 2000s. And I said it in the pod this morning. I really feel for anybody who's of the age where this is what you're growing up and remembering United as. Because you missed out on some good ones. You missed out on some times. Right, who's here from the mod and the member gang before we get into the show? We're going to start with the Premier League roundup. Good morning to you, Josh and Ant. Stephanie, I can see you there as well. Carl, I saw you at the start of the show, as always. We've got Paul Smith, Paul Condren, the Paul gang. Liam, Rex, we've got John, Toby, Jamie. We've got Abdallah, we've got Ryan, and we've got Ricky. And Teresa, good morning to all of you. Yeah, we know full well it's not the therapy room anymore. We won't be on that. Let's have a quick roundup of the results that happened this weekend. It was Leicester that kicked off the weekend, getting absolutely spanked at home. It has not gone well for Ruud. I don't really know why he took that job. Given the circumstances of Leicester, given where they were, given the squad they had, it felt like a bit of a poison chalice. Is that Captain Hindsight saying that? No, I kind of felt like a difficult job in the first place, but looks like Leicester are going down. Rashford getting 2 assists for Villa, and I'll speak about Rashford in a little bit next. Southampton getting steamrolled by Brighton, and so did Ipswich. Fulham, I was going to put Munoz in my fantasy team this weekend, and I didn't. Fuming. Bournemouth lost. Arsenal are just a pile of crap football club. Imagine trying to rely on Arsenal at any point in time, ever. I guarantee you the Arsenal fan base is more frustrated and more angry with their team than United fans are with United right now. We are 3 months into a mid-season change in the beginnings of a new system. This Arsenal team is supposed to be competing for the Premier League title. Just such the fact that Arsenal fans have the chest and the gusto to call Spurs bottlers is incredibly ironic, and they probably can't even see it. Just an abysmal football club. Speaking of abysmal football clubs, in terms of the teams, United, I'll speak about that, of course. And can we start? I said it in the pod this morning. I'll say it again now. Can we start a GoFundMe? Just to make a nuclear bunker big enough for all of us to disappear for a month in May. Can we just do that? It seems like a reasonable thing to do. Mo Salah is having one of the most ridiculous seasons I think we will ever see in the Premier League. What an individual season he is having. Every single time you just look at him, boom, goal, boom, assist. Oh, he's not doing... Who cares if players aren't doing much if they're banging in as many consistent goals and assists for a winning team like that? Fuming. City, crap. Spent 200 mil in January to be crap. Nice. Well done. And Isaac, I would love to sign Isaac, but yeah, no chance we can afford that. And I hate to kick off the week by doing this to you, but I'm going to look at the Premier League table. Right? There's United there in 15th, right? Joy of joys. And I said this last week. I said it the week before. I will say it again this week and forever for the rest of the season. United have never been in a relegation battle. I know the headlines might want you to think that. You might want to... Of course, if you're a rival, you would throw that jibe in. We're not. We're 13 points outside the relegation zone. We're fine. However, this is going to be our worst ever season in the Premier League. You know what? I was thinking just before we started today, is this. You know how we talk about I talk about it a lot. I don't want to throw youngsters into the first team when it's such like a pressure environment, like bringing them into the wrong circumstances. I look at this Premier League table and I see a set of circumstances, really, which is probably going to be the least pressure you're ever going to get as a Manchester United player. Because we're not in a title race. We're not in a top 4 race. We're not in a Premier League relegation race. We are going to finish somewhere between 16th and probably 10th is about as high as we can go there. Somewhere there. This season is an utter write-off, a complete write-off. That's kind of the environment that you want to, I suppose. But that's not the environment you want to bring a young player into. But there really isn't any expectation anymore. I'm sure it's happened to you as well. When you're watching United games now, you're like... I got a lot angrier at the start of the season compared to now. As the season has progressed, I've just naturally, as a fan, I've just switched off a little bit more. Just stepped back a little bit more. It's probably as like a self-protection mechanism. Apart from the Europa League, which we've got 7 big games left this season. And, the FA Cup, it'll be enjoyable to have some cup runs. And with the Europa League, we need that for the finances. It's like a double whammy, that competition for us. I don't know. Just kind of thought that about the young players coming in. Now, naturally, as soon as Rashford does something for Villa, you see the discourse straight away. Probably partly from rival fans, partly from some United fans. United made such a mistake. United are crap. Amorim is a crap coach. Why couldn't he get that out of him? And I've said it before, and I've said it again. I don't care how many goals Rashford scores. He could score a hat-trick next week. He could score back-to-back hat-tricks. We were never going to see that from him in a Manchester United shirt again. The spark was gone. And if Rashford had stayed at United, he wouldn't have been bagging 2 assists. The relationship was broken. Just accept that. Like, just don't get angry and pissed off. Like, how bad? Like, think about this. Really, really think about this. How bad must the situation have been for Rashford at United and between Rashford and Amorim for him to let Rashford go in a team where we can't score a goal for toffee? And we were still willing to let him go. That's how bad it was. So, congratulations to Rashford. But it doesn't change the fact that it was right to let him go. And anybody thinking that would have been happening at United if he was staying, you're kidding yourselves. You really are kidding yourselves. Speaking about kidding, are you kidding me? Anthony out at Real Betis. I think that's 5 games, 3 man of the matches, 3 goals. I don't know how many assists. Yesterday was quite funny. Go and watch the video of Anthony's assist for Real Betis, and you'll be like, it kind of makes you realise the difference between the Liga and the Premier League. Picks the ball up in his own half, skips past one player, drives past another player. I don't even know how many times I saw Anthony actually skip past any defenders in a United shirt. But he got a fantastic assist, only to balance it out with an absolute whopper moment. right? Last minute of the game, chasing down the ball. I think Real Betis were winning. Nowhere near the player. You can see how far behind him he is. He's just sliding in. Gets himself a straight red. So, Anthony's price goes up. Anthony's price levels out. But Anthony actually doing something out on loan, really good news for United. Rashford refinding himself a little bit, getting some goals, getting some confidence, well, not some goals yet, but getting some assists. Really good for United. Because if you think about it, this summer, you're looking at, and this is why I was pissed off at the time, 40 million for Rashford was a low buy clause. I imagine that Aston Villa are going to execute it. I don't know whether he'll turn them down and hope that Barcelona come in for him. But we should have been able to get more than 40 for Rashford. At the time, maybe not when he left. But money for Rashford, money for Anthony, and of course 25 million for Sancho. Fingers crossed United can get the best part of 100 million for those three players. And that will kickstart our summer, let alone what happens with Casemiro, with Shaw, Eriksen leaving, Lindelof leaving. Of all the summers, you know how many times we've spoken about it as fans, about the clear out of Manchester United. And I thought it actually started, last summer was the first summer, I think, it might have been the first summer since we sold Ronaldo where we made over 100 million. It was last summer. This summer, genuinely, you're looking closer to 200. That's going to be a real clear out. And of course, we need it because let's talk about the game of the weekend. Right, let's read some of your comments out first. Rashford's current performance are a bonus for the club, says Anthony. At the very least, his transfer fee will rise. I don't see it as a bad thing. And of course, Rashford won't be able to play against United, so he can't damage us in that respect. So if he can bag some goals and bag some assists and maybe indirectly help United, well, it can't really help United in the league anyway. Rashford, of course, will be pure profit. Lala, don't really... I could try and pretend that I know exactly what I'm talking about with PSR, but nobody bloody does. I don't think anybody who actually wrote the rules of PSR know exactly what it is. About what a certain number means on your balance sheet per year or across the contract. And whether that, if you now get money for Anthony, whether his amortized value, blah, 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 blah. I don't exactly know. I tried my best to understand it, but it's just so confusing. That's a big problem. That's a good one as well then. Raw's mentioning Greenwood. We could get another... Well, I don't know how much we could get for him. If I'm correct with Greenwood, I think we get 50% of the profit from a sale of Greenwood. Jonathan Ross is here. From the sale of Greenwood. So they paid how much for him? Was it 20... 25? So I think it was somewhere between 20 and 30 mil that Marseille paid, wasn't it? So hypothetically, he was to be sold for 60 mil and we paid 20. That's 40 mil. So we should get 20 profit from that. I think it's 50% of the profits. Jeez. Everyone's mentioning Mason Mount in the comments. I can't do that. Something like that. Mason Mount. Spectacular waste of money. Spectacular. Josh, you're saying they paid 26 mil before bonuses. So don't know the ins and outs of it. But if Greenwood was to be sold for a big amount of money, then you're looking at a great sell-on fee there. A great 50% of the profits. That's what it is. Let's talk about the game, all right? Good thing is that we've got a game on Wednesday. And that game coming quicker will definitely be a good thing for United. I think so anyway. What was your thoughts on that match? Right, I've already given my match reaction. I gave my 5 things we learned in the video yesterday. And let's talk about it. All right. It was a game where United did everything that we hoped they wouldn't do. That's what the first 70 minutes was about. The energy levels were just... It's like United were playing hungover. it's I don't know how to do. Is what I mean. I've just reached a point where I've just seen it so many times against so many different teams in so many different circumstances, stadiums, context, with injuries, without injuries, after a week of rest when you've got a midweek off, after you've played 3 games in a week, different 11s. Like every single iteration of it, I've seen this United team play like we did in the first 60, 70 minutes. And Ruben Amorim, after the game, and I think this is something that I don't want to use the word endearing, because having an honest manager, I don't think, I suppose it does endear Amorim to the fans, because we've just had Erik Ten Hag before, haven't we? And Erik Ten Hag tried to sort of pull the wool over your eyes and sort of, you've watched a game of football, you come out mega frustrated, and you see a manager going, we actually played really well, we should probably have won that 2-0, and you go, what? What are you talking about? Amorim has been very, very clear the whole way through. Very honest. And we didn't exist in the first half. And look, I want to speak about a few things to begin with. That one being the first one. And you're asking the same question that I've said and the exact same point I've made as well. Why is it that these players just switch on and switch off like light bulbs? I'm sure it's a choice. I'm sure it's a conscious choice. Or maybe it's a subconscious choice. I don't know what it is, but it feels like a choice. But that first goal we conceded, I don't know which was worse. If I'm being honest, I don't know which was worse, the first goal or the second goal. But the first goal was just a catalogue of errors. No, a comedy of errors. 4, 5 different missed headers. Delot missing the first ball, bouncing upwards. Maguire just heading it backwards. And then it drops to Beto, and then he just kicks into the roof of the net. If you saw your year 9s doing that, you would be pissed off. That is schoolboy defending. It really, really was. And then, that second goal, right? The second goal was just an abomination. The ball in behind into an absolutely acres of space. I think that's kind of, when you play with 3 at the back, you're going to leave those sorts of spaces down the flanks if you get hit on the transition. That can happen. I understand that. It's kind of part and parcel of the risk of that shape. Then Onana, and I'll speak about Onana next, parries the ball vertically in the air. And then Maguire just... Oh, there's Doucouré. Is that? It's just... I couldn't believe it. That obviously wasn't the goal, that one. And then Onana. I've learned a lesson, right? I've learned a lesson about the way I need to describe players. When I described Onana as a transformative signing for United, I was foolish enough to look at Onana at Inter, to have watched his season, to have watched how he played in the Champions League, and to have imagined that Onana being picked up and dropped into United team and playing exactly like he did at Inter. And if that Onana came to United, he would have been a transformative signing. But my word, the parries, I've definitely overlooked a few of them this season. But Onana's just causing danger where he doesn't need to cause danger. Maguire just standing there. And Maguire's like a very experienced senior international player. Look over your shoulder. If a ball's dropping from the air and you're on your 6-yard line, why on earth wouldn't you look over your shoulder to see who's coming? You'd know that. And with Onana, why on earth you just... Is it that one there was like, I don't know, sunlight was in his eyes, short reaction time. It's nuts. But yeah, I've definitely learned a lesson with Onana in terms of how I look at a signing that we make, and we can't as United fans, which sucks. You should be able to do this, by the way. You should be able to look at a player, do your research, watch his games, and understand how a player is and how he works, and expect that player to do the same thing in a United shirt. That's what you should be able to expect from signings. You sign a player because of his qualities. He comes to your club and he brings those qualities to your club. But it just doesn't happen. It rarely happens with United players, with United signings. And Onana really is a classic case of that. Expectations versus reality with Onana have been very different. We just didn't exist until that Bruno goal, and I'll speak about the Bruno goal next. Let me see what you're saying down here. Anthony speaking about Delo, I'll speak about him a little bit later. Andrew saying Onana's fallen to the same United pressures as others. And you're also mentioning there we need to sign players like Dorgu with confidence. I'm worried about something with Dorgu. And just like I'm worried about the same with any player that comes in and looks good. I'm worried that United as an environment and the players will sort of drag Dorgu down to their level. Will kind of suck the confidence out from Dorgu's game right now. And that the way that he's been playing, I'll speak about Dorgu in a little bit more detail. I'm just concerned. So concerned that the early promise of Dorgu will be swallowed by the environment. I hope that's not the case. But I've seen so many examples of it at United. I'm fearful that it could happen again. How many times have we seen this picture this season? How many times have we seen this? That pose from Amorim on the sidelines. It's nuts. Going to go and read a couple of your comments. I think there's a couple of super chats up there. Don't want to miss them. Alex, you're saying, got pulled out of jail in the last 20 by Bruno. Will they score first in the first half this season or actually pass to whoever the striker is? It's a hard watch. It's kind of hard to put your finger on what the biggest problem is at United right now. I think, personally, it's the lack of goals. If we were just scoring more goals, it would paper over cracks of a lot of the rest of the game that we still need to improve in a lot. But there really are just so many problems at United. Seven Samurai, how you doing, buddy? You're saying, my frustration with this squad is a lack of determination and grit. It's not the size of the dog in the fight, but the size of the fight in the dog. What do you think is the main reason out there? I think it's fear of consequence. It's almost like players don't want to be the player that is in the headlines tomorrow for doing the wrong thing, for making the mistake, for being the reason why the loss happened, for becoming the meme. I think players are so scared of becoming memes that they'd rather not do anything at all. That's what it feels like. It's safer to be scolded as a team than to become the meme that gets ridiculed for however long it is. So I think it's like self-protection in a weird way by these players. Because Amorim's going into that going, you saw his post-match comments. He said, at half-time, I didn't change anything. I just said to the players, do what we did during the week. Do what we were doing in training all week. But just do it with a bit more energy. Because he's looking at that, as he said, quote unquote, we didn't exist in the first half. Amorim's not asking these players to be second to every duel. He's not asking these players to just ignore balls that are in the air and not look over your shoulder. He's not asking these players to play at 2 miles an hour. They're just doing it. Right now, still, and this is a big, big problem, and this happened under Erik ten Hag a lot, whatever is happening in training is not translating onto the pitch. Whether that's, and then you go to the same questions again. Oh, is it the fact that Amorim's communication isn't good enough and he's not telling the players and there's too much instructions and there's too much information? And no. It's the exact same thing has happened between two very, very different managers. right now. So the common denominator for those is the players. So what is it that they're doing? Not absorbing information, not listening to the information, disagreeing with the information. I don't know what it is. But it was that man that pulled us, as Alex said, out of jail. And I want to speak about Bruno for a couple of minutes here. All right. And I also want to run through this quick little clip from his interview post-game. Is this the biggest problem? I mean, what is the biggest problem at United? I don't know, but this is right up there with the biggest problems we have.
Plan. That's what the manager was very upset with us, to try to stick with.
Oh, that was the wrong bit. Was it about there?
We can, every time that we concede a goal and we are down, it's the only time when we start and we think that, now we can take a little bit more risk, now we can go forward, now we can pass forward. We need to start the game like that because... I
mean, how many times do we have to scream this as fans? That's exactly what the problem is. One second, my chat stopped. There you go. United do not start games and finish games the same. United, up until that Bruno goal, up until that moment, were absolutely awful. Seemingly everybody sort of accepted, we're going to lose this game. Then Bruno with a set piece, great free kick, gave everyone like sort of the adrenaline shot in the arm, and all of a sudden we started playing football. And all of a sudden, that's how you know it is mental. That's how you know it's there. Because as soon as that Bruno goal went in, boom, everybody, like a light bulb, turned on. Boom, we got a second goal. Boom, we were all over Everton. We were pinning them back. We were winning the ball high up the pitch. Everything that we weren't doing, we were doing. Simply because we scored a goal. Boop. And it's that frustration of that. It's literally a light switch. And that's when it might not be a conscious choice. And it might be that the players' mentalities and their mindsets and their fears are in control of them rather than, in control of your own decisions. But that's how quickly it can change. Yeah, of course, I agree with that. The subs did help. Bringing Casemiro off. Funny that, bringing Casemiro off helps United. Mind blown. And playing Bruno deeper helped. But Bruno, as the chief creator, I want him close to the opposition's goal. And I said that so many times as well. Like I need to know where you stand on Bruno, right? I've seen Goldberg this morning trying to go in on him, trying to hammer him. And it fucks me off so much, right? I could run through that and speak about everything that he's done these last few years, but don't need to look at that. I just need to speak about Bruno individually. I would put a hell of a lot of money on the fact that if Bruno stepped into a team like Real Madrid or just a really functional, high-class, world-class team, Bruno would not look out of place in any way, shape or form. He would slot right into that team and you'd be like, wow, what an incredible player. He is world-class. Is he frustrating? Yep. Does have massive frustrations. But for all the problems at this football club, why is it that some United fans have still got energy to go at Bruno Fernandes? Like, why? So I seriously need to know some sort of coherent human logic as to why. Like, fucking hell. I could go after so many of these United players with so much more information before I talk about Bruno. If you want to talk about problems at this club. I have to laugh at it. I really have to laugh at it at this point because anybody who's doing it just doesn't sound like a United fan. It just sounds like somebody else, like a Scouser coming in just to try and twist a knife in a bit more about your club and about your team. Sam, a world-class player, brings out the best from those around him. What Bruno single-handedly should make all these players realise, boom, oh, you can play football. And it's exactly what you just said there, Roland. United were crap until Bruno Fernandes individually put that free kick in the net. Boom. And therefore dragged out the best from those around him because he gave everybody the confidence that they didn't have until he scored. So actually, that's exactly what he did. Thanks for your comment. It just staggers me, right? It just really staggers me. Like, I know problems at this football club. Take your pick, man. Take your pick. But if you ever think I'm going after Bruno Fernandes with the same sort of viciousness that I see so many United fans doing, blows my mind. You do you. You're never going to get that here. Captain Steak. Captain Steak Bake. My bad. Hojlund needs to put his shorts up or else he will lose his first team spot to Obi. Put his shorts up, put his socks up. That's a Samism there. You got that one wrong. But anyway, I'm going to speak about Hojlund a little bit later. I don't get it. I really, really don't get it. Somebody who I do want to speak about in terms of how impressive he's been is Dorgu. Dorgu's come in the first game, when he played right wing back, we were all like, that's an odd choice. It was a bit of an odd choice. Dorgu, on that left-hand side, in the last 2 games, has been, I'm not going to go as far as a revelation, but it's just been such a stark contrast to Delo on the right-hand side. I've spoken about Delo a lot, but I think what Dorgu is showing you here is a player, and this is something really, really, really important to understand, right? When I'm talking about Dorgu, or I'm talking about Kenda, or you're talking about signings like Osimhen or Cunha, or any player like that, right? Not any player like that, but these players, yeah, sure, they will fit an Amorim system, but they are going to be so athletic, so strong, so confident, so fast, able to play on the inside, able to play on the outside, just technically very confident and athletic players, that's how you build a good squad. If further down the line it doesn't work out with Amorim and we move on from Amorim and somebody else comes in, you'd then have a squad who would be able to play whatever system that manager wants them to play. They're not going to be locked into a back 3 system. But the lack of athletes, and this is just so dumb to say, but it's such a reality. The lack of actual athletes at a professional football club like Man United is insane. You are, like, to be a Premier League player, you're in like the top 1% of players and kids or lads who play football in this country. The top 1% will become Premier League players. Of that, 0.1% of those players will play for Manchester United. So you are talking about what should be the creme de la creme, the absolute top of the top. And they can't run around for 90 minutes. They can't play with a sort of intensity for 90 minutes. It's nuts. And then when you see someone like Patrick Dorgu, you're like, well, that's exactly what we've been missing. And he knows something that I've said it, and I'll keep saying it, because it's a big-ass problem at this club, is the lack of ball carriers. You look at Dorgu actually bringing the ball forward. And Xerxes made a great run that second half, didn't he? Bringing the ball forward 10 yards. Not relying on a pass, finding a teammate, passing triangles, circles, movement. No, it's just simply a player with the ball at his feet going, I'm going to beat that man. Whoop. Skip past him. Bring the ball up the pitch 10 yards. Really bright start from Dorgu. I hope that United don't bring his level down. I fear that we probably will. But the fact that that's the exact player that we need to sign. Just the basic foundations absolutely nailed on. Very athletic, very confident with the ball at his feet, and is technical. Those 3 is a base foundation, and then you build on top of it with certain specialties and characteristics And then you sign players for different positions. But Dorgu's been great. And then as I said, you contrast him to Dalot on the right-hand side. Now, Dalot is somebody who's proved his reliability in terms of fitness. Availability is a very important asset for any professional player. But every time Dalot receives the ball, he's facing his own goal. His natural position is to face his own goal, to hold the ball up and pass it backwards, not to like try and skip past the man or do a quick 1-2. And it's just totally opposite styles of being a wing-back. That's what you're seeing from Dalot and Dorgu, and why someone like Kenda is going to make a big, big difference. I'd be surprised if United don't sign Kenda. I really, really will. Let me see what you're saying down here. Dalot is way short of what we need. Dalot, instead of crossing into the box when given the chance, will choose to pass to another player to do that. That's just typically, Anthony, that's what United players do. They will pass responsibility on to someone else because I don't want that responsibility. Bruno, you do it, man. You take the pelters. You take the bullets from all the fans. I don't want that. And on the left-hand side, even in the first half where we were crap, the link-up play between Bruno and Dorgu was lovely. I think Bruno touched the ball more than anyone on the pitch in a United shirt against Everton. And second to that was Dorgu. So straight away, there was a real emphasis on that left-hand side for creating the threat. And I think a lot of United fans feel this, and there is so much evidence for it, that Garnacho is more of an impactful player in a United shirt from the bench than in the starting 11. Now, he was dropped after the game against Spurs. Who was he that he was dropped for? Was it Ugarte? I think it was Ugarte, and then Bruno played further up, which is ultimately where I wanted to play. But Garnacho coming on that second half made a difference. Casemiro going off, Bruno dropping deeper, and then Garnacho coming on and going into the left inside forward position gave United more of a direct threat, more of a ball-carrying threat, more of a running threat. And it was good. It helped United. It definitely helped United. Shouldn't come as too much of a surprise, really. Dean, why'd you have to mention that? Really wishing Ahmad never got injured. As if I've got to deal with that Ahmad for the rest of the season, man. You'll talk about ball carriers. You want to talk about technical players. It just really, it still kind of really feels that Garnacho is a more impactful player in a United shirt from the bench. Whether it's playing against tired legs, whether it's just, I don't know, the swings and the momentum in the second half versus the first half. I don't know what it is. It's not saying that Garnacho is not impactful at all in the first half. Like, you look at the game against Spurs, it was him getting into goal-scoring positions, him getting into goal-scoring chances, but then he's missing them. Nars, you're asking, is Bruno going the Scholesy route where he's playing deeper as time moves on? I don't think so. Like, if you looked at, there was a stat that came up saying most counter pressures in the Premier League this season. I think, who was first on that? It was a Scouser. I think Bruno was second on the list in terms of all the Premier League players. Bruno's fitness is not really particularly an issue. He's never really been a rapid player, but he's still getting about plenty. So I don't think it's a fitness and an age thing. I think it's just kind of a choice of where he's sort of, where Amorim wants to use him. Because right now, Bruno's probably our best central midfielder. And also at the same time, he's our chief creator. So he's our chief creator for that ball into the final third, that final pass to create the chance. You want Bruno doing that pass, but you also probably want Bruno a little bit deeper. I think I've chopped and changed between the two, but I'm going to nail my colours. What was it? Nail colours to the mast? Whatever. I want United to go big on a central midfielder and allow Bruno to play further forward, rather than going big on an inside forward and allowing Bruno to play deeper. I think. I'm probably going to change my mind on that across the course of the season. What's this? What are we hearing from Eric Ten Hag? Don't don't need to cover that. Right, let's speak about what we've got at the club right now. My lunchtime video is going to be on Rasmus Hojlund today. I feel like it's the right time to have this conversation. And you should be able to have conversations as fans without it being considered a witch hunt. And I'm not witch hunting the lad. He still looks like a kid because he is a kid. Rasmus Hojlund should never, ever, ever have been Manchester United's sole striker for like a year and a half. Never. That's not right. But Hojlund this season has completely regressed. First season, far from perfect. Didn't score a Premier League goal, I think, until the Villa game. And then went on a big run and then got injured. But overall, 16 goals in his first season. That was fine, man. Given the circumstances, given what happened with the football club, everything with Ten Hag, blah, 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 the season we had. Yeah, it was fine. Build on that in the second season, then we can talk. The development has gone the completely opposite direction. Everything is just going wrong for him. And when you look at Chido coming off the bench, and in 20 minutes, I look at Chido and I saw a very nervous lad. Let's not be surprised. A very, very nervous lad. 17 coming on. But even in those 20 minutes when Chido was on the pitch, he was causing more problems for Branthwaite and Tarkowski compared to what Hojlund did in just those 20. Whether it was dropping deeper and they didn't want to follow him or trying to... There was one point where I think Maguire could really have found a lovely ball to Chido. It was good. It was a decent enough run. Ryan has kind of a fair point saying who hasn't regressed this year. I'm sure there are some. I can't think off the top of my head. But I'm looking at Hojlund now. And I said this in the podcast and I'll say this again. Like, anybody who suggests Xerxes to go in the number 9 role, shut up. Xerxes significantly better as the number 10. It's not a surprise. That is his position. He was never signed as a striker. He was signed as a number 10 who can arrive on the edge of the box and replace the sort of goals that McTominay would score. Late runs into the box, on the edge, first time, like his first goal for United. Don't put Xerxes number 9. So if you're not going to put Hojlund number 9, who else are you looking at in the squad? You're looking at Chido. You're looking towards the youth. And that's why I went back and... I don't need to pull the Premier League table up so you don't need to see it again. But where we are in the league, we're not going to get relegated. We're not going to finish in the top 4. It's almost like the 12 games we've got left in the league this season could be the perfect way to properly introduce probably two youngsters. You look at Chido. Kone's made the bench a couple of times. Kokonki's gone back down to train with the sort of train and play with the academy teams. But, yeah, and I know you're right. This is a lad who has had to shoulder way too much responsibility at a very young age at United. It should not be the case in a club of our size and magnitude that we have a 21-year-old coming in and saying, well, we need you to score the goals because we've got nobody else. Can I look up to Ibrahimovic or Rooney or Van Persie or... No, I've got no one. I'll go and have a conversation with Benny McCarthy. Great. That was never right. But also, what wouldn't be right now is just continuing with Hojlund for the rest of the season because right now something's got to give. Something's got to change. And I think the fact that Chido got 3 minutes against Spurs, then he got 20 against Everton. I don't know whether he'll start against Ipswich, but those numbers should increase because we need new goal threats in this team. Let me see what you're saying in the comments. Right. Yeah, Xerxes said himself he's a 9.5. All of Xerxes' best performances so far in a United shirt, promising performances, have all come when he's operated in that number 10 role, where he's almost like 15 yards outside of the box. That's where he's been an asset to this team. He's not a box player. He never will be. Never should be. So therefore, don't make him the number 9. Who knows, Chido Who knows, getting Chido's chances might improve Hojlund's confidence. I don't know what you can do now to really improve Hojlund's confidence, because it's not a case of just trusting him and playing him, because that's not worked. It's not really a case of taking him out of the team because he's trying that hasn't worked. It's not really a case of playing somebody else alongside him, really, because there isn't anyone else to play alongside him. It just feels like he needs a little bit, like someone's saying down there, Mr. Miracle, you're saying he needs a little bit of a break. That's what it feels like. It needs someone else to sort of, suppose, shoulder the responsibility. I mean, you might technically see Bruno playing in the false nine again. I really hope not. Don't particularly like that. But I would like to see Chido starting a game at some point. Is that Ipswich at home? Is that Fulham at home? Feels like, well, Fulham at home, of course, in the Cup. Feels like two decent games where more than 20 minutes can be given to him. Of course, after that, you got Sociedad, which is Sociedad away. Right now is the biggest game that we've got left this season. If we beat Sociedad, which is a big if, but if we beat Sociedad and go through to the next round, then who is it that we can play in the next round? Is it Leon? I can't remember, actually. No, it's not. We can play Roma in the semi. I can't remember who's the next one. But anyway, if we get through the round of 16, then that away game in that quarter-final would be the biggest game left this season. If we win that, you get the point. All the big games that exist now, between now and the end of the season, are all in the Europa League. So that's where you're not going to take any chances. And it's such a grim reality that is where we're at. But that's what Manchester United's reality is now. The Premier League is done. Amorim here speaking, saying, look, we need to win against Ipswich, and we do need to win against Ipswich. I can't even have any confidence that we're going to win against Ipswich. A team who have been a relegation candidate all season. If you go back to how they played earlier this season, they've competed against teams. They compete against City, they compete against Liverpool, compete against us as well. We do need to win, but we need to win every week. We needed to beat Everton, and we didn't beat Everton. We needed to win the game before against Spurs. We didn't win the game before against Spurs. See, Billington, you're saying, you said it yourself, the league is done. Do you think the players feel the same and that's why they're not performing? I mean, you could argue that if you want, but these players have been playing like this all season long where the season hasn't been over. So I don't think that can be an excuse. Mirko saying, I watched Sociedad, don't think they look particularly scary, but knowing us, it'll be a fair fight. But look, knowing us, it's just... We've got PTSD as United fans. The players have almost got PTSD themselves as players. It's like the anxiety of... The anxiety of United fans is a consequence of what the players have done on the pitch. And now the anxiety of United fans is probably affecting the players on the pitch. It's almost kind of like gone sort of full circle. United's shitness for 10 years has created a complex among the fans. We're all anxious for United to get back to the top. And it's why the extremes exist so much. But then you watch that game against Everton, and it was such a game of extremes. That's just how United play football. In the extreme. Relegation quality for 70 minutes. Fantastic for 15 minutes. Then Ashley Young, by the way. Mate. Really? Come on. That's all you need to say about that. One last bit of news before we wrap up the show today, and I'm going to read some of your comments out to finish. Mazraoui, I think it was Beto who fell on his leg, was an uncomfortable fall. And you've got Rob Dawson from ESPN saying that Man United are looking at Mazraoui and it might be an injury concern. So if hypothetically Mazraoui was out, you could see Yoro, Maguire and De Ligt. It's pretty immobile as a back three. I look at Maguire and De Ligt and I only want one of them to play at any one time as the central centre-back. I'd rather have two much more mobile, wide centre-backs. Alex saying, would you start Bayindir against Fulham? Well, last two games, we've had Eli Harrison, and I think it was it Grazic? Another academy lad as the second. Why is it? Someone tell me here. Why is it that you have two goalkeepers on a bench? What's the point? Has there ever been a game? I mean, I'm sure there has. But you're probably talking about like, a couple of games in Premier League history where a team has ever had to replace 2 goalkeepers in one game. It's nuts. We could see Aiden Heaven make his debut. Just can't rule that out. I think he made his under-21s debut last week. Looked pretty decent. But strikes me that, again, like all the other signings that we've made, and he's going to be slowly introduced. So I don't know whether we'll see him then. Last couple of minutes, fire any questions. Rashid saying, Sam, talking about Rio's tweet last night, saying, boom, could be a hint about Pogba returning. No, mate, he was reacting because Anton Ferdinand got 40 out of 40 on Dancing on Ice. Man, United fans are starved right now. They need something, don't they? And Pogba coming back would not be it, by the way. Would not even slightly be it. What are we saying down here? Hector saying, Sam, I'm not suffering from PTSD. Just pretty much given up. Being a United fan since the 80s. I'll never give up. I'm not giving up on this season. If we can get the Europa League, that would be huge for us. It really, really would. Like, it will make such a difference to the feeling going into next season. And the ability to spend as well. But yeah, Pogba, no thank you, mate. No. Nope, wouldn't consider Pogba on anything. Pay-per-play basis, nope. I'm not looking backwards. I refuse to look backwards. I'd much rather those opportunities went to an academy player who might have a long-term prospect at this football club than for someone like Pogba to come in and be like a Band-Aid plaster that doesn't change our prospects going forward. It might give us the short-term boost. It might give us an improvement. It might. It probably wouldn't. But I'd much rather take the risk on an academy player getting those minutes. And if it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out. But if it does, and all of a sudden you see an academy player come through in midfield, that serves United far better than looking at anything to do with Paul Pogba. No, thank you. Just personal opinion. Right. I'm going to wrap that up for today. Today's lunchtime video is going to be on Hojlund. Much deeper in... I really want to get your opinions on Hojlund in the comments on that video, so please do. Tomorrow we'll have the Ipswich starting 11. And yeah, we need to beat Ipswich. We needed to beat Everton. We need to beat Fulham at the weekend. We need to win. Winning is almost foreign to us now. Jeez. Anyway, at least we didn't lose. Fantastic. Thank you all for tuning in. It's nice to hear you getting involved in the comments as always. Please do drop a like on the video. And I will see you tomorrow morning. And I'll see you at lunchtime for the Hojlund chat. Take it easy.